Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we'll be reading from Canto 3, Chapter 10, verse 27 through 30. So again, Canto 3, Chapter 10, verse 27 through verse 30. Okay. Vaikatastraya evaite devasargascha satama vaikarikastu ya prokta komaras tubhyatmaka. Word by word. Vaikrita, creations of Brahma. Traya, three kinds. Eva, certainly. Ete, all these. Devasarga, appearance of the demigods. Cha, also. Satama, O good Vidura. Vaikarika, creation of demigods by nature. Tu, but. Ya, which. Prokta, described before. Komara, the four Kumaras. Tu, but. Ubhaya Atmaka, both ways, namely Vaikrita and Prakrita. Translation. O good Vidura, these last three creations and the creation of demigods, the 10th creation, are Vaikrita creations, which are different from the previously described Prakrita natural creations. The appearance of the Kumaras is both. Next verse. This is verse 28 and 29. Again, Canto 3, Chapter 10. Devasargas Chasta Vidho Vibhuda Pitaro Sura Gandharvapa Sarasha Siddha Yaksha Rakshamsi Charana Bhutapreta Pishachascha Vidyadra Kinnaradaya Tasaite Vidurukyatha Sargaste Vishwa Shikrata. Deva Sarga, creation of the demigods. Cha, also. Astavidha, 8 kinds. Vibhuda, the demigods. Pitara, the forefathers. Asura, the demons. Gandharva, the expert artisans in the higher planets. Apsara, the angels. Siddha, persons who are perfect in mystic powers. Yaksha, the super protectors. Rakshamsi, giants. Charana, the celestial singers. Bhuta, jinn. Preta, evil spirits. Pishacha, attendant spirits. Cha, also. Vidyadra, the celestial denizens named Vidyadras. Kinnara, superhuman beings. Adaya, and others. Dasha ete, all these 10 creations. Vidara, O Vidara. Akyatha, described. Sarga, creations. Te, unto you. Vishwashrik, the creator of the universe, Brahma. Krita, done by him. Translation. The creation of the demigods is of 8 varieties. The demigods, the forefathers, the asuras or demons, the Gandharvas and Apsaras or angels, the Yakshas and Rakshasas, the Siddhas, Charanas, and Vidyadras, the Bhutas, Pretas, Pishachas, and the superhuman beings, celestial singers, etc. All are created by Brahma, the creator of the universe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As explained in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Siddhas are inhabitants of Siddhaloka, where the residents travel in space without vehicles. At their mere will, they can pass from one planet to another without difficulty. Therefore, in the upper planets, the inhabitants are far superior to the inhabitants of this planet in all matters of art, culture, and science, since they possess brains superior to those of human beings. The spirits and jinn mentioned in this connection are also counted among the demigods because they are able to perform uncommon functions not possible for men. Canto 3, Chapter 10, verse 30. Ataparam pravakshami vamshan manvantarani cha evam raja pruta shrashta Kalpadishva Atmabhur Hari Chajati Amoga Sankalpa Atmaivatmanam Atmanam. Word by word. Atha, here. Param, after. Pravakshyami, I shall explain. Vamshan, descendants. Manvantarani, different advents of Manus. Cha, and. Evam, thus. Rajapluta, infused with the mode of passion. Shrishta, the creator. Kalpa Adishu, in different millenniums. Atmabhu, self-advent. Hari, the personality of Godhead. Chijati, creates. Amoga, unfailing. Sankalpa, determination. Atma Eva, he himself. Atmanam, himself. Atmana, by his own energy. Translation. Now I shall describe the descendants of the Manus. The creator, Brahma, as the incarnation of the passion mode of the personality of Godhead, creates the universal affairs with the unfailing desires in every millennium by the force of the Lord's energy. The cosmic manifestation is an expansion of one of the many energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Excuse me. The creator and the created are both emanations of the same supreme truth, as stated in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Janmadi asya yata. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Divisions of Creations. Okay. So today we just finished canto, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so today we just finished canto 10 of chapter 3. Sorry, chapter 10 of canto 3. So just for everyone's context, this canto 3 is entitled The Status Quo, and this specific chapter within canto 3, chapter 10 that we just finished, is the divisions of creation. So at the beginning, what's happening is Vidura is asking Maitreya Muni, because Vidura and Maitreya Muni have this long dialogue. Vidura has been advised to talk to Maitreya Muni, and so Vidura finds Maitreya Muni, and they have this long dialogue. And one of the questions Vidura asks Maitreya Muni is, how did Brahma create the bodies of living entities from his own body and mind after Krishna disappears? Like, how does one even do that? And so in this whole chapter, Maitreya starts describing that process of how Brahma does creation, like the different facets of creation. So this whole chapter is Maitreya Muni describing to Vidura what Brahma created and how he created each of these things. So in these particular 3 verses that we just read, he says that, beginning with that first translation, he says the creation of demigods are unnatural creations, which are different from the previous natural creations that he had done. So, further up in this chapter, when he's describing all the different creations he's done, he's saying that these specific creations, like demigods, it's a different category than what I've created before this. Before this, he talks about how he creates the lower species of life, how he creates the plants, how he creates the like the flowers, and so on and so forth. He talks about how he creates the animals, previous to this. But he's saying that these 3 kinds of the creation of demigods is a different category. He's saying that, like he says, animals with 5 nails, birds, human demigods are all Vaikrita, unnatural creations. And the second verse that we read, he talks about the 8 varieties of demigods that he creates. And I think what's interesting is that if you notice in this verse, when he says the 8 varieties of demigods, he's mentioning the asuras or demons in this category, right? So he's saying that the creation of demigods is 8 varieties, and these 8 varieties, the asuras, demons, even like the Rakshasas, Bhutas, they're all in this eight varieties of demigod category. So it's interesting that Brahma lumps in or in that category. And you can see that the demons are created by Brahma himself. Like these pastimes that occur in Krishna Lila, those demigods are those demons are coming from Brahma's creation. So that just shows the vast variety of creations that Brahma is able to create, that he's able to put together. And then finally, in the last verse of this chapter, he talks about the descendants of Manu that he creates. And he's able to do that, he says openly, because he's in the mode of passion. He's in this mode of passion, he's in this create mode. But he acknowledges that it's driven by the force of the Lord's energy. So those are the critical verses that we were reading. As I was reading this section, it personally amazed me how Lord Brahma is able to create these different kinds of entities. And so I thought for today it would be good to spend some time on just Lord Brahma's potency, like what enabled him to be able to create such complex living entities, and what was his mood, and then what are his learnings through his life that make him that enable him to do this. In one sense, this is his job, creation. Like this is what he was quote unquote hired to do. Like that's why he was created. And so um, I was just thinking that to do such a complex job, he had some level of potency and some set of learnings in his life that enable him to do this. And so I figured it'd be interesting to see what were those things, and to see if there's some things that we can take away from that can make us successful in our dharma and in our Krishna consciousness. So that was the sort of the topic I had in mind for today. So let's begin with talking about how Lord Brahma's journey begins in the first place. Um, so Lord Brahma, by birth, is a very intelligent person. He's a very skilled person. He's he knows every type of engineering, mechanical, electrical, civil. He's like the dean of all eng departments, right? He knows every discipline extremely well, and so he's actually a skilled, intelligent person. The way he was sort of born, he knows that all inside out. And so when Lord Brahma appears in this world, so Lord Brahma appears from this lotus flower, and this lotus flower stem is coming out of Garbhodaksha Vishnu's navel, right? It's the famous picture where Lord Brahma is in this lotus, and then there's a stem connecting to the Lord's navel, and that lotus opens, and Lord Brahma appears out of that lotus. That's how he appears in this world. And so when he first appears, he's just seeing the Garbhodaksha ocean around him, and he's on this in this lotus. And he's just seeing the water and darkness around him. But if you can imagine, that's what he's seeing. He knows he's on this lotus flower, but it's full darkness around him, and he's seeing the waters. He can hear the waters around him. And so he actually begins with asking questions to Lord Vishnu. He's in this very reflective mood. As he's hearing the waters, he's in this very reflective mood, and he begins with asking questions to Lord Vishnu. But before he can do that, he uses his rational capacity to figure out where he came from. So he goes down the stem of that lotus flower, and he keeps going down and down and down, and he realizes that there's no end to this. Like I don't know where this is leading to. And so he comes back up the stem and sits back in the lotus flowers and thinks, okay, there's no clear source of where it came from, and I don't know if I'm going to discover that. So he comes back and he just goes into meditation. So again, in his mood of reflection, he has shown inquisitiveness. He wants to ask questions. He's seeking the truth of where he came from, and then he goes into meditation. So he has this inquisitiveness, reflective mood, and he's deciding to meditate because he's not able to find quick answers immediately. And so as he meditates, as he performs austerities, he hears the term tapa. which and so as he's performing those austerities, he's hearing the word tapa, and which means meditation. So uh, that further, motivates him to continue his meditation. But again, it's completely dark around him. And then finally, Lord Vishnu manifests himself in front of Lord Brahma. And that's when he begins to ask, right, his questions. But Lord Vishnu, when he appears, he tells Brahma, "I'm very pleased by our austerities, by the sacrifices you've done. What benediction can I offer to you?" And so, Brahma smartly responds, "I would like more benedictions, not just one benediction." And Brahma says, "I believe I'm supposed to create this entire universe on your behalf. But I have one prayer, I have one request to you, which is please make sure I don't develop false ego. As I'm doing this creation, just please, please, please make sure I don't develop any false ego." And so, Lord Vishnu understands that, and Brahma asks further questions in this dialogue. And it's in Canto 2, Chapter 9, where this dialogue is placing. That's the essence of Bhagavatam. Lord Vishnu's answers to Brahma's questions is sort of the essence of that section. And then, Lord Brahma goes on and creates these various living entities that we read in this chapter. But the leading to before the creation of this is the background story, right? Where he comes from the lotus stem. He's reflecting on what's occurring around him. He's searching for the truth. And then he is in the mood of austerity and meditation. And then he asks the questions to Lord Brahma. So these are interesting characteristics that enable him to create this world. Okay, so then he's created this world, and let's maybe fast forward to some of Lord Brahma's pastimes in the material world that further advance him in his Krishna consciousness. Again, I think it's very illuminating that right after birth, he had this mood of inquisitiveness and reflection and serious austerities that enabled him to have this dialogue with Vishnu. It's something that we can think about for ourselves, how we can stay in this reflective mood and be inquisitive in our Krishna consciousness. These are powerful ways for us to keep advancing. But okay, if we fast forward to some of his pastimes that enable him to keep learning, it's very interesting to see how he keeps learning and advancing himself in Krishna consciousness from these different pastimes. So one of those pastimes is the Brahma Vimohan Lila pastime. So, the premise here is Krishna had just killed Aghasura, the demon. This is the one that, this demon had his mouth open, and all the cowherd boys went into the mouth of this demon. And the cowherd boys want to explore what this was, and then the demon captures them. And Krishna goes, rescues them. And after this killing, Krishna with his associates go for a picnic in the forest. And so they're all having a picnic, including the calves, the cowherd boys, Krishna, after this whole pastime that occurred. But the calves, being allured by the green grass, start to walk away from this picnic. And so, Krishna's associates become a little agitated. The cowherd boys become a little agitated. But, so Krishna says, okay, let's we can go find them. But what's happening is that Lord Brahma takes away all these cowherd boys and the calves and puts them in a secluded place. And Krishna is unable to find the cowherd boys and the calves. Like, they both have disappeared. And of course, Krishna understands that this is a trick by Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is doing this because he's amazed by Lord Krishna, but he wants to actually test the limits of Krishna. He wants to see how much can Krishna really do, how much is really available in his powers. But what does Krishna do? He expands himself to become the calves and these cowherd boys exactly as they were before. So he takes the form of these calves and cowherd boys. And for and the mothers of these cowherd boys show even more affection for these cowherd boys because they can feel that Krishna is in them. And all these mothers wanted Krishna as their own son. So Brahma's, from his vantage point, seeing that Krishna has just expanded himself to these cows and um, cowherd boys, and the mothers are even loving them more. And so he's just, amazed as this is happening in front of him. And after 1 year, Brahma realizes of this pastime happening after Krishna every day continuing to be the calf and the cowherd boy, that that there's no limits to the unlimited. Krishna is unlimited, and there's no limits to him. This is the sort of core pastime that teaches Lord Brahma, that you can't put a box around Lord Krishna's powers. There's no limits to it. And he realizes that it's not just a superpower that's up there, but it's Bhagwan himself, and Bhagwan is all wealth, and everything comes from Krishna. Like these cowherd boys' calves were just emanated from Krishna himself. So this was a key passion that teaches him that learning, that there's no limits to Krishna. He can do this eternally if he wants to. And so this is a key hallmark in sort of Lord Brahma's bhakti process, learning that there's no limits of Krishna. Brahma sees the love that the cowherd boys have for Krishna, the love that the mothers have for the cowherd boys, and realizes that he needs to stop this. Then he sees, Brahma sees the Putana pastime that occurs, which happened a little before this one. And when Krishna actually delivered Putana, like Putana was delivered, right? As in she attains liberation. And the question came up, which is, how will he pay the Brajavasis who had left from who he left when Krishna left the Brajavasis? The question was, how will he repay them? And Krishna says, actually, I cannot repay the Brajavasis because their love for me is so strong. And so, Brahma is noticing that the love that Brajavasis have for Krishna is just unmatchable. So he's getting all these learnings as he's seeing Krishna's pastimes take place. Another pastime that was formidable for Lord Brahma was the pastime of King Nirga. King Nirga was the son of Ikshvaku, and in this pastime, Lord Brahma appreciates the transcendental fortune of King Nirga, and how it's essential to have um, how it's essential to have that transcendental mood in your life. The background is that King Nirga makes an unintentional mistake. Um he's a king that he makes this unintentional mistake where he gives away the property of a Brahmana. Um Again, unintentionally he does that. But when King Nirga is sent to Yamaraj at the time of death, Yamaraj gives him two options. He says, either you enjoy the pious credits of the good work that you've done, or you bear the fruits of the negative things that you've done. For example, giving away this property of a Brahmana, which he did by mistake. And so King Nirga says, just let me take the negative reaction and get that out of the way. And so the king becomes a lizard, and he's a lizard at the bottom of the well. He's stuck at the bottom of the well. When he gets rescued as a lizard, he becomes a demigod. King Nirga becomes a demigod. And what's interesting is that, and when he becomes a demigod, he's able to see Lord Krishna. He's able to he's able to see Krishna in his form. And the reason that he's able to be at this is because King Nirga in his life, though he had committed this mistake, he had done some charitableness. He did some charity for a Brahmana. Specifically, a Brahmin had asked him, charity for building a temple for his deity. The Brahmin had asked King Nirga, "Can I have some devotional scripture installed in this new temple that I'm building?" And the king had arranged that for this Brahmana. And so the Brahmana gave him this benediction that one day you'll see the Supreme Lord. And so from that day, King Nirga had this desire to see the Supreme Lord. And so despite having this desire to see the Supreme Lord, he's yet sent by King Yamaraj to become a lizard. He's given this low body, but he stays patient. And when he becomes rescued from this body of a lizard, he becomes a demigod and he ultimately sees Krishna. And Brahma realizes that it was because of this king's transcendental fortune of where he'd given this charity to this Brahmana that he's able to see Krishna. So Lord Brahma values the importance of um, committing, these strong Krishna conscious activities, because is what will ultimately save you, even though there's these negative things that appear in one's life. And sort of the last big learning that Lord Brahma develops is being patient to wait for Krishna's mercy, staying extremely patient through the material life and waiting for Krishna's mercy. Lord Brahma declares openly in Bhagavatam that Krishna, you have unlimited qualities. Your beauty is just unlimited in every way. And he makes his point. This is in Canto 10, chapter 14. He makes his point, my dear Lord. The verse is Tattenukampam susumikshamano Bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvakma purbir vidam namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. Translation is, my dear Lord, one who earnestly awaits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the creations of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Again, the translation is, my dear Lord, one who earnestly awaits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So Brahma makes his point that if we wait for you and wait for you to bestow your mercy upon us, even while being patient and suffering through the misdeeds, it's important to do that. You have to be patient and remaining patient even through the hard misdeeds or the hard things that are happening in life is extremely important. You don't lose hope about Krishna's mercy that's going to come your way. And so that's an important learning he shares with everyone. The reality is that we face hardships and difficulties in our life. And when those difficulties are happening, our immediate thing to do is to blame someone. But Lord Brahma is saying that you can take that as understanding that I'm going through this difficulty, but let me just remain focused and wait for that mercy to come. And so when these misdeeds happen, you can choose how you respond to it. But Lord Brahma is saying is that this life of devotion, constant devotion, is something that's pleasing to Krishna, not walking away from devotion at these difficult times is something that's okay. It's staying at Lord Krishna's lotus feet, even while these difficulties are happening, is what's pleasing to Krishna, and he shares that in his prayers to Lord Vishnu. And so when I think about Lord Brahma's creation, when he's appeared out of that lotus flower in this dark world where he cannot see anything, he stays positive through that, and he aspires to get Lord Vishnu's mercy, Krishna's mercy at the end of the day, and that quality is again what enables him to do this powerful creation as he makes it. Um, Another example of this point of what that Lord Brahma is making, which is staying patient and waiting for Krishna's mercy, is exemplified in the story of Prithu Maharaj. So at the coronation of Prithu Maharaj, Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, they all show up. They're offering gifts to Prithu Maharaj. But Prithu Maharaj says, as a father not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think is best for me. So Prithu Maharaj says, uh, whatever you will do, I trust is the best thing, just as a father takes care of his son. So Prithu Maharaj has this full hope on Lord Krishna that whatever Krishna is going to do is going to be the best thing for Prithu Maharaj, because like Krishna, we are like his sons, we're like Krishna's sons. And so Brahma's um continuing to emphasize that, Lord Brahma, that Lord Krishna treats us like his sons and he will bestow upon his mercy upon us. And so we have to have that confidence and that mood. Another example is of King Chitraketu. He had become this super elevated devotee, and he had developed this friendship with Lord Shiva, almost to the point where they're kind of equals, or the relationship is like that. And so King Chitraketu goes to Lord Shiva's abode, and Lord Shiva is giving class. But Parvati is sitting on Lord Shiva's lap while Lord Shiva is giving class, and Chitraketu makes a remark, and his intention is to actually praise Lord Shiva, but Parvati takes it as an offense. Parvati thinks that Chitraketu is making fun of the fact that Parvati is sitting on Lord Shiva's lap while he's giving class. And so she stands up and scolds him and curses him that he'll become a demon. So Chitraketu comes down from his Vimana with folded hands, and he says, okay, it's the will of the Supreme Lord that I'll become a demon. So he doesn't fight back or respond back or clarifies the situation. He just folds his hands and takes it as is. And again, an example of what Lord Brahma is saying, that one who just waits for your Krishna's mercy to come, even patiently while suffering through the reactions, can maintain that determination to see Lord Krishna if they were to maintain that patience through these tough times. And again, that's another important quality of what enables Lord Brahma to do this vast creation of being patient and waiting for Krishna's mercy to come. And this term in this verse that I just read from Lord Brahma, the last line of this verse is Jiveta yo mukti pade siddhaya bhak. Jiveta means lives, and Jiva Goswami makes his point that when we're practicing devotees, we just have to be alive in our devotion. Just be alive. Contribute some energy to in that devotion. That's all that's needed to being patient. That's not all that's needed to become patient, but that's a big factor in being patient. So to summarize, as I was reading this section, just seeing Lord Brahma's reflective mood when he comes out of the lotus flower, his inquisitiveness to ask Lord Vishnu about his origin, to his learning from all the different pastimes of where he realizes Krishna is unlimited, and finally this sort of final conclusion that he delivers about having this confidence and having this patience that Krishna will give his mercy, and he treats us like his sons and daughters. I think are the key qualities that make him successful in his job of creating. And I think, as I think about our dharmas and our Krishna consciousness journey, these are some qualities that we can think of, that we can imbibe to be able to continue our journey in our Krishna consciousness. I'll pause there and see if anyone has any other comments they want to add, things that I might have missed from this verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. For explaining this way. Looking into it, what are the qualities Brahma had, right, to enable him to or empower him to create this such a big task. So very nice perspective, Prabhu. I was just thinking. When you quoted, even from the Brahmas from the beginning, right? So he had everything was dark, nothing was there in front of him, right? So he was kind of, he just heard that word tapa, and he was kind of continuously trying to do what he has to do.
Yeah.
So he spent 100 years to do meditation, and it is not easy task. But he was kind of not complaining.
Yeah.
Comparing to the Tatyana Kampam verse, right, that you
Yeah.
quoted.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we expect things to be immediately in front of us when we get some task to complete. But here in this case of Brahma, he has so much patience, and of
Yeah.
course that's how he got that empowerment. And at the same time, he was not uh, thinking that he's the one who is doing this. He's saying that I don't want to get affected by this false ego. But
Yeah. He prays for that. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
so it was so nice lessons to learn from this whole episode of creation. From such a yeah nice thing. Thank you so much for giving this whole
Yeah.
story in, in this perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Boo.
Hi Krishna Kanna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, I second Lakshmikanta Prabhu. It's very beautiful. I loved the class so much. It's not only, as you were reading the verses, I'm like, okay, what are we to do with this? All these personalities, I was thinking. But the way you brought out so many beautiful points through that, it was really very touching. Particularly, I resonated with this aspect of introspection right from beginning. The way you have beautifully brought out that aspect. As Lakshmikant Prabhu is saying, it's not easy, especially when the situation is dark outside. Not literally,
Yeah.
but when we don't have hope or things are not happening properly, we just think about how to correct that situation or what's happening in that immediate thing.
Yeah.
Our focus won't go to, what is my purpose of existence? What is happening? But that's so beautifully exhibited by Lord Brahma. And that's what actually led him to continue his endeavors and be able to finally get the Lord's mercy. So that's very instructive, hope giving. Yeah, it's very beautiful. And this last thing about Chitraketu Maharaj, the way you have explained, somehow it soothed my heart, because every time I hear this pastime, I get a little bit agitated. Why Krishna has to do this? It's not really fair. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just just to glorify the devotees, and they're not really being bothered. Probably we are being bothered what the devotees have to go through, but for them it doesn't matter. As Lord Shiva in that context says, for the devotees it doesn't matter. Swarga, Naraka, Apavarga, it doesn't, wherever they are, their heart is totally with their Lord.
Yeah.
So that aspect, as you brought out, even Lord Brahma, or all these examples where they have such a deep conviction in Krishna being their well-wisher. That's something I struggle a lot, especially when things don't seem to go the way I think is good for me in this situation, or for the other devotees also, not just in a selfish way. When we can't really understand Krishna's ways in the immediate aftermath. But this is just so inspiring to, consciously cultivate that conviction that Krishna is actually our well-wisher. So, yeah, thank you so much. You have very beautifully brought out these points. And I also appreciated, the personal aspect of discussion in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes it just goes so much philosophy. I just phase out. So really loved it. Thank you so much,
Thank you for
Prabhu.
sharing, Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing.
Hare Krishna, Akhanda Nama.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Just wanted to express that it was a wonderful class. Thank you, especially at short notice. I know you came in late last night, and you had to do your prep and everything else. So, thanks again for that. Very well put together. I have as always, I love to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
The devil in me always outshines everything else. So here I am. I'd like to, something that I'd like to pose to the group, to you as well, is the question as to why Lord Brahma, of all people, he is the secondary creator. So for all practical reasons, he is the creator for this universe. He is the bearer of all spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge. He is the one who sits on the lotus and exercises all the possible patience for 100 years or more in terms of doing his tapa to understand who Krishna is. And yet, and again, he is the one who also imparts all this knowledge to Narada Muni and to Vyasadeva, who compiled all of the Bhagavatam, right? So when you look at all of these things, Brahma is no ordinary personality. And the point I'd like to make is, in spite of all of that, we're seeing this pastime, hearing about this pastime, where Lord Brahma, of all people, is testing the limits of Krishna. I know you mentioned, that it's his inquisitiveness, but the devil's advocate in me is saying, no, that's more than inquisitiveness. It's more to do with, he's really doubting Krishna's powers in a sense. So it's almost inconceivable in terms of why someone like Brahma, and just now Amrita Keli Mataji also mentioned, it's when you look at the conviction that these elevated personalities have, it's so strong. But in spite of having such strong convictions about Krishna, why would Lord Brahma not just think, but actually do? He's acting upon his other convictions, and he's exercising his doubts or / inquisitiveness to do something so heinous as kidnapping, all of the calves and the gopas, and not for a day or a moment, but it's for an entire year.
Yeah.
I know this is a pastime of Krishna, but the question is, how if that can happen to Brahma? It's almost it's very, very natural for present day Kali Yuga, as residents, as citizens, as inhabitants of this Kali Yuga, doubts are constantly going to be hitting us. So how do we process that? What are your thoughts? And I'd like to open this up to the group as well.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share any thoughts?
You're the speaker, you can't run away.
I will share as well, but
yeah, we'll follow you.
My immediate thought, Prabhu, to this was there's a verse that there's like a sort of famous thing that Prabhupada says that comes to my mind, which is you can't ever look, you can't take a moment's pause away from Krishna consciousness. Like you look away and Maya kicks you in the face, right? Is that famous thing that Prabhupada always describes. And so when this because what actually made Lord Brahma do this Brahma Vimohan Leela is it's after the Aghasura pastime takes place. He's actually amazed by the Aghasura pastime of how Krishna is able to, defeat Aghasura, and all the cowherd boys are sitting and enjoying their meal. And he's like, okay, this is his prowess. How much more can he do? And that was the initial germ of what made him then go and make this happen. And the bookish answer is that yes, Krishna facilitates all this because it's a pastime that has to happen. So that's of course one reason. But the other reason is that you can't look away for one moment away from Krishna, and when you do, it makes you do these things of what Lord Brahma did. And it's not just Lord Brahma, right? There's like so many of them who did tapa for many, many years and still like commit mistakes like he did. So that was my initial, I don't know, thinking, Prabhu, when you were sharing that the point that you're making, which is valid. Yeah. But I'm curious if others had any point.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. No, very true. Is there anyone else who'd like to go? Sandhya Mataji, you've been very quiet.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my
Yeah, Akhanda Nama's class, very, very wonderful. Regarding your question, I remember in recently hearing a question about Lord Brahma, how he, got inspired to do that. When such exalted personalities do something like that, it is more like they're driven by, it's an act of the internal potency of the Lord. I heard, I don't remember where exactly, like it is to enhance the glory of Krishna, So actually in Lord Krishna's pastimes, Brahma Vimohan Leela is the kind of one of the ultimate things you can think of, So it is more like to enhance the glory of Krishna, that somebody so exalted like Brahma do like that one. That's what I heard. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhu, I found the verse where kind of describes why he did what he did. It's in Canto 10, chapter 13, verse 15. 1 second. So the verse the verse here is, translation is, O King, O Maharaj Parikshit, Brahma, who resides in the higher planetary system in the sky, had observed the activities of the most powerful Krishna in killing and delivering Aghasura, and he was astonished. Now that same Brahma wanted to show some of his own power and see the power of Krishna, who was engaged in his childhood pastimes, playing as if with ordinary cowherd boys. And therefore, in Krishna's absence, Brahma took away all the calves, etc., etc. And the purport, what Srila Prabhupada says, is that that after all, Brahma was born materially. Like, even though he was born from a lotus flower, he says that it doesn't matter that he was born of a lotus and not of a man and or material father. A lotus is also material, and anyone born through the material energy must be subject to the four material deficiencies. And those four deficiencies are the tendency to commit mistakes, the tendency to be illusioned, the tendency to be cheated, or to cheat rather, and the imperfect senses. So Prabhupada makes the point that Brahma was subject to those four deficiencies, and he says later in the purport that Brahma with his Maya wanted to test whether Krishna was actually present. So Prabhupada makes this point that Brahma was in this mode of Maya for this moment after the Aghasura pastime occurred. And then that was a quick sort of pramana I found for when you were asking that question.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
So, couple of points that came to mind when you asked the question, and also based on the discussion that we had. In the same context that we're having the discussion between Maitreya and Vidura, in one of the prayers that Lord Brahma does, one of the specific points that he requests Lord is, as I'm going through this service, let me always be mindful of that whatever I'm doing this creation is as a service to you. So he specifically uses that because it requires a lot of passion. When I'm going through all of this, let me not kind of be forgetful of whatever I'm doing is based on my capacity, but it is whatever is happening is all but a kind of, because you are investing that potency in me. So he was so so I can't specifically answer why Lord Brahma did it or anything, but as a lesson, how I was seeing it was, I think I don't exactly remember if it was Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur or somebody where. So in the purport, in that whole episode of Brahma Vimohan Leela, um, when when Brahma kind of comes back and then prays to the Lord, saying that I'm sorry and all of that, all Lord gives is just a small smile. He doesn't say it's okay or anything. And in so how I was seeing that when I kind of first heard that, and when you were asking that question, is irrespective of if you are Brahma, if you are doing all the services that you are doing, when something mistake or anything that happens, you have to take the responsibility. You cannot say that everything is happening because of the Lord's internal potency. It's Lord who is orchestrating that. Lord wanted to kind of take me as an example and then show to everybody that, oh, even if you're Lord Brahma, you can still do all of that mistake. Lord Brahma was kind of not running away from taking responsibility, all of that. He came back and he said, I'm sorry. He was not giving any excuses or anything. So from on our level, I think that's the most important thing. Is there's this possibility of kind of having that fear where whatever I do, maybe I might fall down. And in the same verse, when Lord Brahma is saying that as long as he's mindful of that, whatever is happening, because of the potency that Lord is investing on him, he is safe. And in this case, as Akhanda Prabhu was just saying, because he kind of, for that moment, whenever the thought came and then when he acted on it, it was that moment when he kind of forgot this principle of whatever he's doing is based on the potency of the Lord, and he kind of forgot what is the actual position of the Lord. So from our side, it can be two ways. Oh, if Lord Brahma is falling down, so can I. If so and so, if Chitraketu Maharaj is having this issue, so can I. But as long as we are in that safe position of being amidst the devotees and always being mindful of that understanding that it's not my own creation or it's not my own potency that's kind of doing these things, I think that's the safest position for us to be. So so all these pastimes or anything are kind of not there to kind of make us feel scared or kind of making us run away. Is in I mean, on one level they kind of make us feel afraid, because only when you can only create a defensive system for your country or for your personality when you are kind of have that fear factor of vulnerability. So there is this kind of position of vulnerability that it creates, but it's not there to kind of to bog us down to such a certain level that we cannot kind of stand up and defend ourselves. It is also creating those defensive mechanisms. What is the best defensive mechanism it is saying? And then as Srila Prabhupada himself says, like, we should always have that healthy fear towards Maya. And in that position of healthy fear, all we do is we go to the front in front of Radha Shamsundar and say that I'm here. I just cannot do anything. All I can do is seek your protection. So that's why I was thinking of it. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. I really, resonated with the point of you have to take ownership of sort of what you do. I think that very valid point, and the prayerful mood of seeking help from Radha Shamsundar. Yeah.
Yeah, all excellent takeaways. I completely agree. Yeah, it's also, as Sandhya Mataji pointed out, it's a part of his Yogamaya potency that Krishna puts, these wonderful personalities in. And, there are so many pastimes that they're having on a daily basis, actually, and the Gopas seem to forget and the parents seem to forget. And yet they send their children out, to tend to the calves out in the forest. And so this happens day after day after day after day, right? So one may question why, you mean to say anyone in their right mind will keep their children from doing something like that or going out into the dangers of the forest? But then this is the Yogamaya potency that Krishna covers, so that he can have his pastimes and that way he can engage, which he loves, with his devotees. So I think these are all great takeaways. And to your point, Prabhu Haridwani Prabhu, this is very true. I mean, we should take responsibility and accountability for what we do and not just put it on Krishna. So that's a great point as well. So all good takeaways. Thank you. Good discussion.
Thank you for that devil's advocate question.
Yeah, thank you. That was good, Prabhu.
Don't worry, you'll always see those two horns sticking out of my head.
Very nice discussion. I was also thinking, just want to add to similar lines to Haridwani Prabhu's thing. We understand the Yogamaya for obviously very elevated devotees, but if you think of, Indra, like whoever, I was thinking it's not that once we become perfected, okay, that's all, we are immune to whatever. I think it's that moment to moment surrender and that connection, as Prabhu is bringing that prayerful mode and understanding that I'm, able to cross over this only because of your mercy. If you remember the Sunday feast temptation, how we ended up with Srila Prabhupada's thing. He says, I would never fall down. Why? Because he's always seeking that protection and praying to the Lordships. So I was thinking in that same sense, whether they are great devotees put by Yogamaya or for people, little people like us who are constantly in Mahamaya, I think it's that moment to moment understanding that I can fall down any moment. So I really need this protection. I was just thinking about that, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for this discussion and responses.
Thank you, Mataji. Awesome. Back to you, Prabhu.
Yeah, I think that thank you everyone for the discussion. Hope everyone has a great day ahead. We'll see you at the Sunday feast tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.